Religion in Berserk is portrayed to be a delusional cesspit of violent and forceful implementation of faith, all controlled by fear and the power of fanaticism. Welcome back to another video, everyone. I hope your lives have been filled with jubilation since the last time we met. The premise of religion has always been a topic that fascinates me, how an undying faith can truly alter someone's entire life in their belief, moral code, and the way they approach the rest of humanity. Fictional depiction of religion is often exaggerated to portray social commentary on certain dark aspects of faith, and this is true within Berserk. There is a main governing religion that dominates much of the land, expanding as the story goes on. They are known as the Holy See, and we see their factions of influence during the Conviction arc. Inspired mainly from Roman Catholicism, the Holy See act as an opposing force to the protagonist Guts, who they initially see as being an evil omen, the Hawk of Darkness. This is obvious dramatic irony, as we know the true Hawk of Darkness is Femto, but due to Guts' dark demeanor and spiteful attitude, this causes suspicion to increase when they finally track him down, alongside the fact they have no ability to comprehend the true evil, as it isn't something so easily seen in their rich, lavish lives. The faction pursuing Guts are named the Holy Iron Chain Knights, also known mockingly as the Pretty Boy Knights, as they are primarily a ceremonial faction consisting of nobles and high-ranking individuals that are not suited for the dirty front lines of the main army. Farnese de Vandimian leads the force, and she is the picture-perfect example of what a religious devout should look like to the outside world, that is. Her true self harbors a deep desire, lustful for destruction, pain, and torture. She becomes aroused from flagellation of the self or others and feels an immense guilt as a result. Guts mocks her emptiness alongside her lack of experience with true powers of the universe, and with no answer beyond what she has been indoctrinated to believe, she becomes infuriated that Guts makes a good point. But after all, what's a god to a non-believer who don't believe in anything? Guts has seen the truth, the most vile example of power in this world, and he sure as hell knows an omnibenevolent god is absent from the realm they inhabit. The role of Farnese's character is to explore someone becoming more open-minded to the world. For instance, those of the Holy See are often shown to be ignorant to the magical elements of the world, closed-minded due to their faith in their god. This could be seen as a critique of real-world fundamentalism, where those of faith are so lost within their doctrines and belief that any alternative thought is instantly brushed aside as nonsense. The main example of her being closed-minded is her inability to sense Puck's presence and visceral rejection that the demonic entities actually occurred in front of her. However, as the story progresses, we see her open up to magic, even showing an incredible potential to become a magi, her old self all but eradicated through her travels. Whilst Miura has stated that his inclusions of religious aspects are not intended to be seen as criticism to Christianity, it would be difficult to deny that the Holy See is meant to be viewed as a chaotic, unfair, unjust source of oppression, much like Christianity of the past with the myriad of religious wars over the years, civil or international. Alongside this, Miura stated Mosgus was meant to be an exaggeration of religious figures, which is clear to see from his overwhelming intensity, following the scripture with a violent obsession. Mosgus is the leading symbol for the Inquisition within Berserk, a historical event that took place in Europe starting from the High Middle Ages, such as Rome, England, and Spain, Spain being its most potent peak, and focused on uprooting heretics or pagans that did not abide by the Catholic Church and strongly persecuted Jewish or Muslim people. Punishment would be brutal, often resulting in death by torture or flame. This is the same in Berserk via the wheel, impaling, stake burning, and water torture. Miura obviously draws from historical events and creates a terrifying force through the Holy See's most prominent inquisitor. Mosgus is the most religiously devout figure in the entire manga, and simultaneously absolutely insane. The point of his character is to exhibit religious extremism, highlighting the unfair judgment of those who believe they operate within God's will. Extremism within modern society is still a thing, one example being a pastor who claimed that women who are raped by men should not complain and the men should not be punished due to the items of clothing the women wear, primarily shorts.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
This nonsensical mentality derives from prejudice based off of religious thought, and to me is more proof that religion is not at all a progressive nor positive concept in modern society, as much of it is steeped in the past. This isn't me saying religion is completely awful, just certain aspects are completely obsolete within the advancing society we operate in. Fact is scarier than fiction after all. This obscenity occurs within Berserk as well, where objectively wrong statements are made, horrendous violations of humanity occur, and serve to undermine the respectability of the Holy See from a humanitarian perspective. Some of the most harrowing imagery is presented within the Conviction arc, and I believe this is to intentionally show how dark humanity can be under the illusion of faith and worship. The dying peasants are brushed aside as simple statistics, whilst the upper echelons of the faith can dictate, operate, and indulge freely in their selfish desires. We see this as the masses are gathered around the monastery in the Tower of Conviction in Albion. The living standards are poor and they are provided pathetic levels of rations. This reflects history as well, with the peasantry being far less wealthy than with the religious institutes, who often boasted great power and control due to the influence they possessed. Further undermining the credibility of the Holy See, the pontiff worships Griffith as the saviour, the hero, and the absolute antidote for the poison inflicted upon the world. This quite literally shows the dangerous delusion of faith, using dramatic irony as the audience are aware Griffith is the reason for so much of the evil present within the world coming from demonic figures. Yet, in this moment, Griffith is able to use his aura and charisma to manipulate the entire Midland army into believing he is truly the Messiah sent by God to save the world. Admittedly, it would be hard to blame the regular citizens and soldiers for believing Griffith is the Hawk of Light that will save them, as without knowing his past, it would be literally impossible to tell. Griffith appears as light itself, supported by the land-wide dream of the shining bird come to save the land from the plague, war, and famine. Desperation can lead to faith in things others would deem ridiculous. The idea of evil, whilst technically not canon, seems to be the only truthful power of the universe, weaving the threads of fate to adhere to its own agenda, uncaring of worship or love to those it harms. Berserk is a dark world and only makes sense for the true power to be equally as evil. The existence of the God Hand itself implies they do serve a higher being, which we assume to be the idea of evil. However, as Mira removed the revealing chapter, we may never truly know the absolute power of the verse. I must admit my knowledge of the idea of evil is not that extensive, so apologies if I misconstrue certain definitions. The many dire events such as the plague that have ravaged Midland and the explosion of Fantasia show us that the situation only persists to get worse for humanity, and Griffith sits at the centre of this, showing that all worship to an omniscient, loving spirit is completely futile. Relating to the idea of evil, hell is also a real place within Berserk. As claimed by Griffith in the Black Swordsman arc, the vortex of souls is full of those who are intertwined with demonkind, apostles and sacrifices alike. This is a place Guts is currently destined to go when he dies, however I doubt the story will end like that. If there is a concept of hell, this obviously prompts the thought of if there is a heaven, however I doubt it strongly. There has been no indication throughout the manga of a heaven beyond statements made by Locus during the funeral event in Falconia claiming that death is not the end and the self exists beyond it. The issue arises, however, when considering that Griffith is fooling everyone. He is a demon of pure evil after all. To think he would be kind enough to send the souls of common subjects to a heavenly place is laughable. He is an act. I severely doubt the places those souls are going would be heaven, and unfortunately believe they are destined for the vortex of souls, considering the person sending them on is the Demon King himself. When the highest form of power shown within the story is literally the concept of evil, and Berserk is a manga that deals strongly with dark themology, heaven seems all too rosy to be plausible. In chapter 201, however, Flora does hint at the possibility of there being a place called heaven, and claims these deeper realms relate to the karma of the individual, deriving from the Buddhist thought one's own actions dictates either punishment or reward in the next life. However, even Flora, someone incredibly wise and profoundly educated in this aspect of the universe, is not sure on the definite existence of heaven, or at least the conventional concept we perceive as heaven. The astral world contains a myriad of layers, all with many different purposes, and therefore only one deep enough connected can truly understand it. Overall, Berserk reflects historical religious events with a twisted brutality due to the demonic presence of the supernatural elements. I think there are lessons to be learnt about the power of faith and perhaps one's own naivety when concerning a belief. Have you considered all options? Are you purposely ignoring negative aspects? And do you prefer the idea rather than the reality? Miura was not openly religious, however I doubt he despised religious people. His writing seems more humanist central. I would guess he disagreed with those who surrendered their agency to a religious or cultist organization with no resistance or thought. Religion in Berserk does not offer catharsis or freedom to the subject of its domination. But anyways guys, that's gonna wrap today's video up. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, really helps the channel out. And I'll be back with another video next week for you, man. Stay safe, stay happy, and I should really make a outro, shouldn't I? Okay, bye.